I had suggested way back then, that was 2002, like, hey, maybe we can sell couches because we seem to find them cheap and we can probably resell them for a little bit of money. But like, no, they're too big. We have no way to move them. We didn't know.
Everyone remembers their first flip, and I think it's where you go from there that really defines how you're going to do in the couch flipping game, because
the higher the price, the slower it would sell, for sure. Like,
people on Facebook Marketplace are looking for a deal, but at a certain point, it's like,
Jason wanted to go full time, and I had another job, and he said, "Oh, just quit. You're making more money now, fixing these couches, cleaning these couches, and we're selling them for more."
we ran into a couple of couches here and there where they smelled like dog. They were a little ripped or a little sun faded or a little damaged, and we would try to fix it up as best as possible. I mean, we spent...
On this episode of The Couch Pod, I'm joined by Jason and Olga Lane, based out in Massachusetts. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Sure. Thanks for having us, Charles.
So I know Pull Up a Couch has been thriving in the recent year. Maybe you could share with us a little bit of your background, how you got started, and where the business is at today.
Sure. Yeah, this is kind of funny how it started, actually. I mean, maybe not funny, but I'm a marketer by trade. I basically have been doing technical marketing, product management, product development for my whole career, over 20 years. And along the way, I've also started and created my own companies, own little side projects. I always have something kind of going on in the side, like on the background, to get bored easily. And Olga's been there with me for most of that.
Wow.
All since we've been married, for sure. But I've always had like little side projects and stuff even before, like always creating something. And so we were doing handyman work for about 3 years after we bought this house in Massachusetts. And in order to pay some of the bills and sort of help, keep our costs in line, we were spending our whole weekends going around fixing people's stuff. So we love using our hands. We love fixing and moving and doing stuff. And
we were doing well. There was no shortage.
There was no shortage, and I didn't have to do any marketing, any special things. We were just getting word of mouth, and it was great. But the money was not so great. It was okay. It was
breaking our backs.
Yeah, we're killing ourselves every weekend, planning out everybody's, projects and stuff. And it was a nice break from being at the desk during the week. But I felt like we could make more money. And so I've been watching YouTube channels and stuff. And I saw, Corey from Mission Side Hustle. I follow him pretty religiously. And he started flipping furniture, and he started flipping, he did junk removal. We've done junk removal. We did handyman stuff. We just kind of follow in similar paths, right? I did everything but DoorDash. And so anyway, bottom line is, I said to her, hey, we should try flipping a couch or try selling a couch. And we had bought most of our furniture. I think we've only bought one thing retail in our whole life. Since in 2 different houses that we've owned, we've always been fairly frugal and fairly self-sustaining in terms of like DIY. She's an artist. She can create. She does all of our leather work. She does a lot of painting and things like that. And I do a lot of the woodworking and building and construction and that sort of thing. And so, we've always talked about maybe flipping furniture. We actually had a garage full of furniture in our first house that we collected that we were going to paint and restore and resell. And we did a few pieces, but then it just became overwhelming, and we didn't do it. But I had suggested way back then, that was 2002, like, hey, maybe we can sell couches because we seem to find them cheap and we could probably resell them for a little bit of money. But like, no, they're too big. We have no way to move them. We didn't know. And there wasn't YouTube at the time, so we didn't see other people doing it. So we could kind of give that up. So then come full circle here in 22, September, almost exactly 2 years ago.
Did you get the first one for free?
The first one we picked up.
70s or 80s looking one?
We call it the Brown Monster.
Yeah.
It was like 8 pieces, huge, modular, like high back recliner couch. And I got it for free. It was super dirty. It was like a microfiber couch.
The frame was broken. You had to fix that.
So I tell her, I'm like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to try this out. And she's like, no, don't do it. And so she was fighting me a little bit because she...
Oh, yeah, I did.
The history
I
of...
was like, no, let's just go the other direction, something we're familiar with. But he stuck with it. Jason would not give up. He's like, I'm going to fix it. You're going to see it. My son was against it too. My son was like, Dad, come on, Dad.
There was really no,
seeing this big old huge brown couch and ashamed of myself that I was like, I couldn't see ahead like he did. And he stuck with it. He fixed the one recliner. The frame was broken. He fixed it. I vacuumed it. He was like cleaning it. And we had a little, was it the Bissell?
It was the stand-up upholstery cleaner thing that we had. We had already owned that, and we owned shop vacs, and we owned all the tools and stuff. But we learned a little bit about how to move these things and stuff. I had a flatbed trailer already to move cars. cars because we had flipped some cars in the past. We have car projects. And so I was like, I'm just going to go do it. There's no downside. It's not going to cost me anything except my time. I'm just going to go do it. And we'll see what happens.
When he showed up and he's like, okay, I sold it. I was like,
Yeah.
My son and I were like,
Well, it took us like
You know?
like 2 weeks to clean it, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh man, it was sitting in our garage for a while. We're like, what did we get ourselves into? This thing's huge. It's sort of like, is it not coming clean? And finally, we kind of got it mostly clean, and I think we listed that thing. I got it for free. It was massive. This is like at least a $2,000-$3,000 couch.
Yep.
And we sold it for, I listed it for $600, and it sold in like a couple of hours. And I was like, okay, it's sold. And we're like,
Yep.
we got to deliver it.
Like, oh shit, we had to eat
So-
crow. I ate crow, my son ate crow. We're like, what? We were just blown away that he had actually turned this couch around because it didn't look like much. But it was something that people who can't afford the brand new version of it, this one was cleaned up, it was fixed, everything reclined just fine. I still remember moving it into that family's house. They couldn't speak English that well. I was interpreting, and they were so happy. They were extremely happy. I was like, wow, we could actually do this and, get a feel good out of it. We're helping people who can't afford these kind of stuff.
Actually, that first one we sold to
Oh,
a
that was
guy,
a gentleman.
and he gave
then
us.
he gave us the leather one.
So it sort of like
That's right.
generated itself, because as soon as we delivered it, he's like, "Oh, we got to get rid of these other leather ones," and we're like, all right, we'll take those. So we took them, cleaned those up, sold those. So it just sort of like, it just started going. As soon as the first one sort of led to the next one, and then we learned how to do everything from there. But yeah, it's kind of funny how it all started.
And then we went from the garage bringing couches, and we would put them standing up as much as we could. And then we got an employee because I couldn't clean them by myself. Jason was still working during the day. And so I would clean couches. I would take all the covers off. I would launder them. If there were any tears, I would mend them. And then we got an employee. And then after that, we went in, we said, okay, we need storage. So we went and we got one storage, right?
Well, yeah, so we jumping around a little bit, but we spent a year basically before we got an employee. We're just,
Yeah, it was a year.
we went from like maybe 4 or 5. This was just to offset our handyman revenue, which we were making around, I want to say like, I don't know, $2,000 a month, maybe doing handyman work on the weekends, maybe $500 a weekend or something. And so I was like, now here we sold this couch and we made $600 in like an hour. Well, a little bit of time cleaning it and whatnot. I feel like if we get better cleaning and we get more efficient moving the couches and finding them, I mean, we could do this 2 or 3 times a week, and we could make as much money as we were making doing handyman work for the whole month we could do in a weekend. And I was like, that's how we wanted to do it. But yeah, so then we kind of kept going and added. We went from 4 or 5 a month to like 4 or 5 a week, and we did that for a year. And then we're like, how do we scale this up? We'd already gotten a storage unit at that point because we needed, we were using our garage, we were using our living room to stage everything. We were still trying to figure out pricing and costs. And one of the things that, sorry if I'm rambling on here, but feel free to stop me and change directions if you want, Charles. But one of the things that we found early on was, because like the first 5 or 10 couches, we were trying the free or cheap sell for a little bit. And I had a full-time job, and I wasn't here to like, go crazy spending tons and tons of time, moving all these couches and just make a couple $100 profit. I was like, I need to make at least $400 or $500 profit on each couch in order for this to be worth it for me. And I realized that if we actually bought some of the couches for a little bit more money, we could get a better product. People were happier with those products. They sold a little easier, even though we had to charge more for them. We had to sell them for $8,000, $9,000, $1,200 or more. It was possible. And we're like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to sell $1,000 couch on Marketplace. That's crazy, But we did it, and I can't remember the first one we sold for $1,000. I do remember one of the first $1,500.
Pottery barn. It was a Pottery barn. Honey.
It was Pottery barn, yeah. So we realized like the brand, the connotation of the brand, the retail value of the brand, really,
the location.
Yeah, it really helped set the price of the used item. And even if it was $1,200, it was still a great deal compared to $4,000 couch. So we realized like we could get these $3,000-$4,000 couches for pretty cheap. $500, $600, even up to $900 was still a good deal if we're selling them for $1,500. And so we made a pretty good go at that for the first year or two. Like she said, we got an employee. We actually hired 2 people kind of in the same time frame, both part-time, and then one of them didn't work out. We let them go, and we just kept one one for a while. And
Hey, flippers, are you still managing your reselling business the old-fashioned way? In today's fast-paced market, leveraging technology isn't just an advantage, it's a game changer. That's why we created Ivy Flip, the ultimate app designed to supercharge your reselling business. With Ivy Flip, you can effortlessly source products from Facebook, OfferUp, and Craigslist, all from one easy-to-use platform. Say goodbye to missed opportunities and hello to instant notifications when great deals are posted. Our cross-posting feature lets you list your items on multiple marketplaces with a single click, maximizing your exposure and sales potential. Plus, our AI-powered scam detection ensures you spend your time on genuine listings, not fake ones. Don't let outdated methods hold you back. Embrace the power of technology with Ivy Flip and put your reselling business ahead of the competition. Click the link in the description and get a 1-week free trial of our app now.
That's cool. So, I mean, you guys have come a long way since your first flip. That much is clear. And, it's funny, I talk to many flippers, probably 5-10 a day nowadays, and everyone remembers their first flip. And I think it's where you go from there that really defines how you're going to do in the couch flipping game. Because if you stick around, if you kind of stick in this lower range and you're only picking up free couches and you're never taking a risk on something a little bit more expensive, you're not learning. You're not seeing what the other types of business models are that are out there. And ultimately, I think that ends up limiting the growth of a lot of couch flippers, why they're unable to take it from a side hustle to something that can be more lucrative. And one thing I know flippers run into all the time is when they first get into these kind of higher end couches. So now they're spending $500, $900 on a couch. They'll place it on Marketplace and it's listed for $1,300, $1,500, that they're having a little bit of a harder time moving the product because it is at a higher price point. And as we all know, absolute price does matter, especially on Facebook Marketplace. So what was your experience with that, and maybe some of the things that you did to be able to sell items at a higher price point?
yeah, I think you're right. The higher the price, the slower it would sell, for sure. Like the lower we got, like $600 to $800, $900 was sort of our sweet spot, and those would go pretty quick. I remember there was one month, I think it was May because we started in September, it was that following May in 2023, and oh man, I mean, I was like, it was so funny. She'd be in the living room and I would post something, and like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I sold the blue one. It was just like one after another. Yeah. I couldn't even keep them listed. And I was like, holy crap. And so there's like, we got to move the prices up. So we were kind of forced into kind of pushing prices higher because the demand was so great at that time that like we couldn't even keep inventory. And I'm like, we're spending all this time finding inventory, cleaning it, selling it. I'm not going to sell it for nothing. If there's that much demand and there's enough to sell it in like seconds, I might as well just go up a little more. So that was sort of a market function that allowed us to push the prices up higher. But then one thing I realized, and I said this a little bit ago, is really the value of the brand was super important. Mm-hmm. And I realized that if I didn't tell people what the retail price was, then it's just a blue couch. If I didn't tell them it was a Pottery barn that sells for $3,000 new, and I didn't actually include the screenshot of the, like, if I can go get a comp on, especially from their own website or maybe on one of the other resale sites, then I would include that as well in the listing and show people like, look, this is actually like a $3,500 couch new. Here's the specs. And by the way, our price is only $1,200, $1,500. It's a great deal. And it's like new. Everything's always like new. I remember there was some lady who's like, why is everything always like new? What does that mean?
But we also would factor in the age of the couch. We would always ask how old the couch is. And my husband would call me and he'd be looking at a couch and he would say, okay, Olga, this looks pretty good. How old is it? Every single time. How old is it? I want to know how old is it. And sometimes people would tear the tags off so that we couldn't see how old it was. Well, we realized once you take the covers off, there was a tag on inside on the pillow. If it was a high-end couch, like Crate and Barrel Pottery Barn, you open it up, you look inside, and there's a little tag, and it says the year. And the funniest one is one time we went to this lady's house, and she had a cream-colored, it was a sectional, the Natuzzi. It's a Natuzzi.
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
Natuzzi.
the cream leather one.
Yeah, and she wanted it out because she bought this house, this couch was there. And we were ready to take it. Jason had already backed up the trailer.
She wanted a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And I was like ready to pay it, but then I pulled it open and looked underneath, and the tag said like,
and I was looking
made
at
in China or something.
Yeah, and I was
like,
looking at the leather, and I'm like, okay, this leather is really, really worn. There was a dog on here. She goes, no, there was no dogs. It was a belt. And I'm like, what are they sitting on their chest, and rubbing the front of their belt on the couch?
Telling us a certain story, but then the more questions we asked, the more investigation we did while we were standing in their garage, the story started to fall apart. And next thing you know, we found out, oh, this was the couch that was included in the house that we just bought over the summer, and I heard it was this, and so and so thought it was that.
My daughter said
my daughter thought it was in the Natuzzi, and I'm like,
picks it up and he goes, "This was made in China. There's nothing having to say anything about Natuzzi.
Yeah,
it's
it didn't have the tags and everything. And so you learn like the different tags, you learn the dates, the time codes, the stamp codes, you learn how to read all that stuff. I remember in the beginning, we're looking at like these tags and we're trying to figure out what the brand is. And sometimes, oh, look, it's a Miracle Wednesday couch. And we're like, what the hell is that? It just turns out that now we know, like, oh, that's just some generic brand that Bob's Furniture sells. It's like,
and we learned,
so you start to learn stuff.
Yeah, we learned to stay away from certain couches. Like we would not touch IKEA. We would not touch Wayfair. And I know Wayfair has different levels of their couches. They have the low end, the middle end, and the high end couch. But I wouldn't touch Wayfair. And besides, people didn't want to rebuy Wayfair couches for some reason. I don't know why. They just didn't. I know why they didn't want to rebuy IKEA. But when it came to Crate and Barrel, Restoration Hardware, Pottery Barn, all those high end ones, those sold fast.
Well, at that price point for IKEA and Wayfair, it's like you could just get a new one shipped to you, and it doesn't have the stigma of Facebook Marketplace being used, and it's probably not that much more expensive. So the IKEA market, like the people on Facebook Marketplace are looking for a deal, but at that level, at a certain point, it's like I might as well just go to IKEA than look on Facebook Marketplace too. Because I think with IKEA and Wayfair, of course, there's this element of convenience as well.
Yeah, so we started building the brand around it as we sort of like really thought through like what we wanted to be as a company. We ran into a couple of couches here and there where they smelled like dog. They were a little ripped or a little sun faded or a little damaged. And we would try to fix it up as best as possible. I mean, we spent hours and hours and multiple rounds of cleaning on some of these couches, and the ones that we got like cheap or free, and we felt horrible. I didn't want to go to bed terrified that I would wake up the next morning that somebody would call me and say, hey, this couch smells like dog, or it smells like this, or it broke, or whatever. And like, so we did everything possible to produce the highest quality product that we possibly could so that we would feel confident in what we were selling and that we wouldn't have callbacks. We would get 5-star reviews. We would make customers happy. And really, we built our brand around that, like providing high quality products, high quality service, excellent customer service. And we had a few situations where customers called us back and something was broken or something wasn't right. We had a couple of crazy people who basically said their couch smelled like cinnamon.
I remember that.
There's probably a million crazy stories that we all have it.
Your house smelled like cinnamon.
She walked there's one lady walked right in my house, and the couch hadn't even been in my house. It was just, she walked in there and she's like, she saw the fireplace. She's like, how'd you keep the smoke out of the couch? I'm like, we've never even lit a fire with this couch in the house. We've had it for like a week. Anyways, yeah, so there's always the crazy people, but then you learn along the way like what you feel comfortable and what brings you confidence and what you need to do. And sometimes you can't get around it, so then you just lower the price and just move it on. Try to disclose as much of the issues as possible, and then it really informed how we bought things going forward. Like every time we go to buy something, in the beginning, if it had a little rip or it smelled a little funky, we're like, we can clean it, we'll fix it. And then you go through the process of trying to clean it and fix it, and you're like, that's going to take me a long time and I may not get the smell out. So then you avoid it, or you can completely like hammer the price on the buyer because you're going to have to discount it for a lot. And so
the best part was disclosing it.
Yeah.
If they really wanted that Crate and Barrel, I would disclose it. I would like, okay, we especially were very careful about like the cat and dog hair. If the couch came to us with a lot of cat or dog hair, we knew that there were people out there that had really bad allergies. And that's one thing that I could not sleep on. Knowing that, I sold a couch to somebody who had bad allergies and didn't disclose that it actually came from a house that had pets. Mm-hmm. And people felt more comfortable buying our couches from our house. There were like a few that we kept and we cleaned it up and we would set it up in our house, and they liked it buying it straight from us, like it was our couch.
Yeah, I remember
So
hearing.
then we started
I
switching.
remember hearing people like this is when we were debating whether we should get a storage unit or not because we heard people like I think we got a storage unit and I think I had mentioned I used the phrase like you can meet me at my storage unit or my storage warehouse or something like that. And I remember somebody said, "Oh my God, it's in a storage unit. Never mind, I'm not gonna buy it."
They had a bad
Like,
experience buying
what?
a couch from a storage unit.
So if you listen to the market and it's even just one person can give you insights, and this is sort of like what I do in marketing too. You listen to what the market tells you and you can tune the words that you use to talk about things later on. Like you may not know the right answer right away, but as you start to try different things, you hear how they respond and whether that actually resonates or not, or whether they react to it in a certain way, and then you can adjust what you say going forward. But yeah, so free is not always free either. And I was going to say that we talked about moving up market in terms of like the quality of couches that we focused on. And one of the reasons, there's a lot, but one of the main reasons is like you can go get free couches, but then you're going to spend a time fixing and cleaning it, and then you end up not really being able to sell it for as much. I make way more money on a couch that I pay $500 or $600 for, turn around and sell it for $1,000 than something I got for free and have to sell it for $3. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's not enough profit on it for whatever reason.
It brings down the kind of perception of your brand as well, and then oftentimes you have to spend way too much time fixing up or cleaning that couch, even if you have to discount it.
Or callbacks, or it costs you a review, or heaven forbid you ship it to somebody and then they call you back and say, I want to return it, and then you know.
So you guys touched on something important, which is when you're first starting out couch flipping, you can kind of hide what you're doing as a reseller. But at a certain point, that doesn't fly anymore, right? Like it's just, you have so many listings on your profile, you have so many reviews, maybe you're even marketing yourself as a business, and you just have to be overt and upfront with people. Hey, this is my business. I'm providing a service to my community. So at what point did you decide to make that transition? And what were some of the challenges that you experienced along the way, and how did you ultimately solve them?
Jason, once we were making a good amount of money, Jason turned to me and he said, God, I want to do this full time. I don't want to be working
this is
behind the
different.
desk.
This is different. So he's talking about like when we showcase our listings to the market, like how do we transition from, I guess it's sort of similar, but I was thinking about it differently. So I guess there's a lot of people that ask the question, like, should I delete my listings? Should I keep my listings? Or are you asking when should we go full-time business versus just like side hustle?
So like as you make the decision to transition from like person on Facebook Marketplace who's buying and selling things to we are a full-fledged business, how did you decide to make that decision?
Jason wanted to go full time, and I had another job, and he said, "Oh, just quit. You're making more money now, fixing these couches, cleaning these couches, and we're selling them for more. You're making more an hour."
We offset my handyman business and her personal assistant business with the couches that we were selling. I mean, we were generating like $8,000 to $10,000 a month in couch revenue, like profit,
So weeks went by. Jason came outside, and I remember I was outside because it was like we had extra time because we were working from the house. And he said, God, I want to do this full time, Olga. I don't want to be behind a desk anymore. And I said, wow, okay, well, let's pray on it. He goes inside and he comes outside and he's holding his phone. He's like, whoa, I guess we're doing this full time. And I said, what happened? And he says, massive layoff. And we were going full time at that point.
So it's funny, Jason, who you had on the podcast a little bit ago, he put a video out that morning and I was looking at my phone. I was going through Facebook and I saw his video he had posted something about trying to make the decision to go full time or not in couch flipping. And I was like, yeah, that's actually true. And I was thinking to myself, I've been wanting to go full time. I've always wanted to have my own business. I don't really enjoy working for, corporations. I don't enjoy working for other companies and helping to build their dreams and just get paid. I want to have the control over, how big do I want to grow? When do I want to work? All that kind of thing. Now, we always have bosses, like our customers are always our bosses. So I never say like, I want to be my own boss. Like that's a false premise, I think. But, being able to control your schedule and your own destiny and how much you want to work and how little you want to work and what types of things you want to sell and where you want to do it, all that is in your control, right? But yeah, it was funny. We spent like an hour talking about it. And we can do this and this. And okay, I'm going to go make a plan. Let's figure out, we'll save some money for the next couple months. And I'll put my 2-week notice in like in about a month or so. And I go to my desk and I'm like, I couldn't get on my company Slack. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I went on LinkedIn and I saw that there was a layoff, and I was like, oh, I guess I was part of this layoff. So it looks like we're going to go full time. That was last April 2023, right? So it was April 2023. So I did some severance from the layoff. And then within about a month or so, I took on a contract role doing what I normally do in my day job, which is marketing. But I did it as a part-time gig. So I was only working like 15 or 20 hours a week doing what I used to do in my day job. And then the rest of the days were spent helping build and grow the couch business. And we had moved, and then we actually, like within a month, that was when we hired 2 people. We got a new trailer, we got some storage units, and then within a couple of months after that, we rented a warehouse. Like, I mean, we're like, dang, I lost my job, and here we are spending money on hiring other people and giving other people jobs. I felt good about that. I was like, this is great. You know, like we're actually helping create an economy that didn't exist before. So that's kind of what kind of kept driving us. We're like, we just keep doing more. We can get more couches. And then I think we got to a point where we were doing, I don't know, like we've kind of been in this stalemate here for a little while, but we started doing 20 to 30 couches a month. But remember, like there's people that do 80 or 100, but they're doing them at a different level that we do them. We're doing not only the high quality brands, but like we probably spend way too much time cleaning couches. Like we spend 5, 6, 7 hours sometimes cleaning a couch. Sometimes it's less depending on, you know, but we take all the covers off, we put them back on, we fully detail it because we're trying to build this really high end product that people love, and that's kind of how we built our business. So every couch takes that much time, and then it takes a while to find the right quality couches as well, because we're not just buying anything. Sure, there's a lot of stuff on Marketplace, but how many Pottery Barns and Crate and Barrels and Restoration Hardwares and, you know, our houses and those type of things that you can actually get at a decent price? You're starting to limit the scope of how many things you can actually go find. And so we started to run into a little bit of a wall, and we're like, how do we scale this thing? And then so I hired a driver to help and just test it out to see what it would cost. And I started doing these models, and I'm like, man, 2 people in a truck all day, truck, you know, I know people like Griff have done it. He's got guys that go out, and there's ways to model it, but like I just couldn't figure out a good way to basically like scale the used side of this business. So this past June, we had an opportunity to either kind of continue the business or, you know, let's close it down and do something different, because we were kind of at a stalemate where we were basically just breaking even by the time we have the warehouse, the employees, all the costs, and we're starting to get tired. We're like, okay, this is a lot of work, but I feel like there's still an opportunity to build this business bigger. So I'm like, how do we scale it so that we could make the acquisition side and the cleaning side kind of go away? And that would save us a tremendous amount of time, and then we can just focus on sales. And so that's where we started our new journey back in June this year. It was kind of great timing, maybe the universe or God, you know, helping guide us, but the building that we were in got sold in, I think, April or May, and the new owner came in and started saying, we need your space. You're going to have to find another place.
And yet
and then he's like, no, you can keep your space. And then he's like, no, we need your space. And we're like, what do we do? We're going to kill this business and we're going to have to go find something else. You know, we had a good rent or whatever. And so eventually he said, well, actually, we do need your space, but there's an opportunity to take over this bigger space in the other part of the building that these people are moving out. Now we went from 2,800 square feet to 3,800 square feet for obviously more money, about $4,000 a month versus the $2,500 a month we were spending. So, or $2,800 a month we were spending. It's like $1,200 more per month for a bigger space. But he gave us a little bit of a discount to kind of transition and get out of that space that he needed and move over. And so,
we had two spots.
Yeah, it was 2 spots that we had to give up to go into one. So we consolidated 2 broken spots into one big spot and added an extra 1,000 square feet on top of that. So, and around May of this year, I lost my Facebook account to the infamous Facebook engine that was like killing everybody's accounts left and right. And it scared the crap out of me, because I mean, we're literally relying on this money. We're relying on this. We built this business around a platform that we have no control over, and Facebook can just pull the cord, instantly you have no business. And so I knew that was a probability like within the year prior. So I started building my Google reviews. I started building up like a website, a brand, and I was thinking, about ways to sell these couches in different channels, not just offer up in Facebook, but like direct through Facebook or direct through Google ads or whatever, and I knew I could still run Facebook ads. So like, even if I didn't have access to Marketplace, I could still get access to Marketplace through Facebook ads and drive people to my website, and my website will become the Marketplace sort of experience. And so I was building live chat and, listings that mirrored what it looked like on Marketplace and things like that. So I already started building and planning that like maybe 6 months to 12 months before to try to prepare for the inevitable, which I knew was going to happen. It eventually happened in May. It was, this last year has been a crazy series of events that kind of led us to where we're at now. So now we got through all that. I ended up getting my Facebook account back. And so, but we don't use it like we did before. I think I have like 3 listings right now. And the listings are just generic listings that I boost. And I have a collage of photos. We actually sell new furniture now. So we partnered with Ashley and we have a few other brands. We're working with you on maybe getting some inventory from other brands as well. But we turned basically a marketplace direct to consumer kind of purchasing experience into a traditional furniture store experience. I will tell you that this has been, and it still is, like, it's a whole different world. It's a different business model. It's a different way of sourcing inventory. It's a different way of selling. And what I figured out is that we're actually dealing with people at different points of the buying journey than you are on Facebook Marketplace. And so that's what makes it a different business altogether. We're now like having to deal with so many people that are just coming in going, I think I might want a couch one day. What do you guys do here? And then before it was like people would look at your couch on Facebook Marketplace and come directly to you and say, okay, I'll buy it. Or maybe they say, what condition is it in? Or, where are you located or whatever. They've already made their journey down the buyer's experience to say, they know they have a problem. They know what they want to solve it with. They know what couch they want. They know how much they want to spend. You know what I mean? So then they can just go directly to you. So it's a different experience altogether. But yeah, we're still kind of like working through that. But it's been good. I mean, I don't even know in terms of number of couches. I mean, I can estimate like we're still doing around 20 to 30 couches, but now we have a catalog of like thousands of other items, bedroom sets, dining sets, coffee tables, end tables, lamps, outdoor furniture, all sorts of stuff that we have access to sell. And I thought, man, as soon as we turn on the website and we have all these items, sales are just going to go through the roof. Well, the reality is most people still want to come see, touch, feel the thing. They want to see the color to see it, make sure it's the right color. They want to touch it to make sure what it feels like or whatever. And so even though we have all this stuff on the website, very little of it will sell unless we have at least a sample in the showroom to sort of show people like, here's the love seat version of it, or here's the chair version of it. There's also a sofa and a sectional and a this, and you can build it bigger and all this stuff. Then they can kind of visualize it a little bit. Sorry, we jumped a little bit way ahead, but yeah, we did make the transition from flipping couches as a side hustle to full-blown business.
We still do pre-owned couches. We still clean them. We have a couple of them that I just fixed up a leather one. I've got another leather one that I'm repairing and restaining.
Yeah, it's definitely a core competency, and I tell people that too. I'm like, look, first of all, we have spent 2 years buying and selling like high-end brand stuff. So now that we're selling the new furniture, we were essentially curating a set of furniture that we know is good quality based on our experience. We are curating the ones that we know sell. And we hear this all the time. We get people coming in going, well, you have really nice stuff in here. There's really great stuff. And this is really comfortable and that's comfortable. And not too many people complain about any one thing because we're picking the stuff that we know is good.
Absolutely. And I think you guys have described what is sort of the quintessential transition from someone side hustling to trying to go a little bigger in scale to ultimately the kind of furniture businesses that we're seeing pop up left and right, particularly this year. And so I look at financial statements of flippers all day, every day, not all day, like not every day, but many days. And the exact scenario you described is what I've seen over and over again in different flippers businesses. You get to a point where you simply cannot flip more couches. Because like once you're at 30 couches a month, there's not enough time in the day to go and get more couches if you're picking them up one by one on Facebook Marketplace. Just not happening. You have to, be on your phone all day, get to the deal first, negotiate with the seller.
And then you hire people, but then it's like, well, I'll just sell a couple more couches to cover the cost of those people. And then it doesn't scale exponentially, it scales like linearly. So the more I spend, the more I can make, but then it's like, I'm not really gaining
It
traction.
doesn't even scale linearly, right? Because between you and Olga, you're highly motivated to do well in your business. But anyone you hire for, I don't know, $15, $20 an hour is not going to bring that same level of commitment, motivation to their job. It's just not how it works. And so the things that you used to be doing for free, all of a sudden cost you money. Every cleaning costs you money. Every delivery costs you money. And then the overall productivity that you're getting out of every hour of labor is overall lower. And so this is what every flipper that I've spoken to in the past 2 years, come up against is they get to this point in their business. They're doing 30 flips a month. They're like, how do we grow from here? They start scaling up their infrastructure. They get a truck. They, increase their warehouse space. They're hiring employees. Their overall revenue goes up, but their profitability goes down. And so they end up making more money than before, but their overall profits stay the same. And now their business is just much more complex. And one of the key pieces to being able to scale a couch flipping business that you've just hit on, finding a more scalable source of inventory. So a lot of the flippers that I've had on the podcast in recent weeks are the ones that have sort of broken through this revenue barrier, and now they're getting up to 60, 70, 80, even 100. I was just talking to a flipper last week. He's probably going to do 150K this month.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great inspiration. I love hearing those stories. I have to keep reminding myself of those stories to help give me motivation, because there are days like this last week has been really slow. I think we made 2 sales this last week or whatever, and I get angry. I'm like, where are the people? We have this beautiful inventory of this beautiful showroom, and we've got all this marketing and spending thousands of dollars. Where is everybody? Why are they not coming to buy from me? Or they do come in and they go, oh, I got to go home to measure. And I'm like, tell me why you're not buying the couch or what happened. It's just, sometimes it's really irritating, really frustrating, even now. And I'm trying to break through those mental blocks, because I think it's more mental for me than anything. And I hear this from other people that are way more experienced in retail, like older people that I talk to, and they're like, yeah, it's just retail, just how it works.
I think one mistake people make as they're going through this transition is they get into the new couches and they completely give up on the old couches. Not that you guys are doing this, but other flippers that I've talked to. And I think there is a jump that you can make from from used to only selling new. And I've spoken to people where that exact thing is working for them. But at the same time, as you're getting established and you're figuring out your business model for the new couches, why bite the hand that feeds you in a way, right? If used couches is a core competency, if it's your bread and butter, why not keep that sales channel flowing and make money doing something that you can make money on? Because the profit margins tend to be good even if it is time consuming. And then figure out the model for the new couches. And the thing about the new couches is I think it really is based on having a model. So the first aspect is, how do you get people into your store? And having a showroom of sorts, where a space where people can come in and physically interact with you and your products, is really important. That's the one thing I've seen about everyone making the transition to new, is they have some strategy for marketing that is effective at getting people in the door. And then once people are in the door, they're effective at closing them. And that's because, they're good at sales, they are good at understanding the needs of the customer. And even if they're, coming in to look at one product, there's another product that originally isn't actually desirable for them. That's the one thing. But then, the other thing I see is let's say you're carrying, you have 10, 15 Ashley sectionals on your showroom. Probably 80% of your revenue is going to come from 3 or 4 of those models. And that's the thing that they understand really well, is these are the pieces that we're actually making money on. Everything else is there for variety and maybe a potential upsell, or shifting a customer if they don't actually want one of these key models. But that's what they're really zeroing in on. The final thing is that the revenue number for new couches can be deceiving, and that's because you're making a lot less profit margin per sale on a new couch, on an Ashley couch particularly, compared to a used couch. If you pick up a used sectional, maybe you get it for $200, you sell it for $800. That's a $600 profit, 300% profit margin. That's a great profit margin. On your average Ashley furniture couch, you're going to make maybe 30 to 40% profit margin. So it's actually a 10x difference if you think about it in those terms.
But if you factor in you have your gross margin initially on a used couch is definitely more, right? By the time you factor in cleaning costs, storage costs, acquisition costs to go get it. And obviously, even if you're doing it yourself, you still have to attribute dollars and time to those activities. You can't, because otherwise you're not going to scale it, right? And so based on And the math that I've done, I mean, it's basically works out to be about the same in terms of, net margin. So if you just take the brand new couch, cost of goods, delivery to your warehouse, sell it versus acquisition of a used couch, clean it and store it and get ready to sell it, they're roughly about the same profit, like net profit margin.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And this is, once again, why a lot of people struggle to scale their business beyond their own labor, because they're actually not valuing their labor, right? They're like, oh, like I can do this for free, but you're not doing it for free. You're investing your time, and your time has a cost. Yeah, it's easier to make this mistake when you're making no money, right? If you're making no money, or like your time is just not that valuable in the status quo, then it's easy to be like, oh, I can go pick up this couch for free. I can go clean it for free, right? But as you make more and more money in your business, you start realizing, oh, my time does have value. And that's the point at which people start to think a lot more about efficiency. How much time am I spending driving? How much time am I spending cleaning up couches that like spend 4 hours cleaning up this big brown sectional, right? Like I just want to buy something that comes in better condition, that's newer, that I can just, do a quick vacuum and get ready for sale.
One of the things that we ran into, so we've obviously met a bunch of the other flippers in the area, and we've networked with a few of them. We've one guy we collaborate with in particular. And one of the things that I've seen, not only locally, but other people, I think I've heard of this too, and I think one of the things that helped give us more success early on was taking the money that we made on the free couches and the cheap couches, and even the profit that we made, we would roll that back into the business. And I knew that in order for us to make money, we have to be able to buy couches. And I always kept track of like, how much money are we spending on couches? How much are we selling them for? How much profit are we making? And at some point, I can't remember how or when, I basically injected like almost none of my own cash for the first maybe 6 to 8 months of this business. And we rolled that money back in to create what I call couch fuel, which is the money, the inventory capital that you need to buy inventory to make profit. And I would always make sure whenever we sold a couch, if I knew I bought that couch, and I have a very like detailed spreadsheet that I've kept, and I stopped using it now that we're selling new furniture, but I guess just advice for anybody that's kind of building in our footsteps here, you got to use the capital. You got to build up a nest egg of capital in order to continue to make your business run. Don't buy a couch for 200, sell it for 1,000, and then take all 1,000 and pay off your phone bills. Like you got to take the 200 you originally used on that couch, put it back into your inventory capital. And I think the way that I kind of built that up was like, I would take a little bit of money off the top out of the profit and use it for just paying bills or, whatever I needed to use it for. We did put some of the money into tools like dollies, tie down straps, cleaning tools. Yeah, eventually we bought a Mighty T. But yeah, like I always like made sure I had that $10,000. I built our inventory capital up to $10,000, and that was what I knew I needed every month in order to hold inventory that we had available for sale and still have enough capital to go buy more couches. And so one of the flippers we had met, he said like, no, I take all the money and I pay my mortgage. And I'm like, wait, how are you going to buy more couches next month? He's like, I don't know. Like, you're not going to sustain the business if you don't have inventory capital to keep buying more couches. So
absolutely. I mean, for a lot of flippers, it's their first business, right? Because it's like this low barrier to entry thing. And there are very few businesses you can get started for like a couple grand and then start selling products for 300% profit, right? Or like 200% profit. So for a lot of flippers, it's their first foray into business, and there's pervasive misunderstanding about how to even tabulate or keep track of their business finances versus personal finances. I was having a conversation with a flipper like last Friday, and I was like, how much money are you making each month? He's like, I'm doing about $7,000 in sales, and then $35,000 is my net profit, but that's a little like up in the air because sometimes I have personal expenses. And I'm like, wait, how are you calculating your net profit including your personal expenses? Isn't your net profit everything, like all your revenue minus all the expenses in the business, not including any personal expenses? He basically didn't have an answer. And then it turned out that he's actually just living paycheck. Like I sat down and we had an extended conversation, like here's how you should be tracking your finances. And I think sometimes you just don't know. We don't know. But the people that I've seen do well and continuously grow their business, yes, that number that they have in reserve, their reserve liquidity, that number tends to go up and up and up. Because really, if you want to sell more couches, you need to have more couches in inventory. And the rule of thumb I give people,
I started figuring out the more money we would generate was a function of how many listings we had available for sale on a given month. And so, we would only make like 10 or $15,000 if we had, 5 to 10 couches available. But we started generating $20,000 to $30,000 when we had 15 or 25 couches available for sale. So and it was a direct correlation to how many things we had listed to how many sales. And it's just obvious. And now, now we have 5,000 things listed because we have this unlimited inventory, so to speak, right? But we only have so many things in the warehouse that people can actually come and sit on and touch and feel. And those are the things that tend to sell. Yes, we are increasing the average order value a little bit because if people can see just a little glimpse of what a table might look like or a different part of the sectional or maybe the love seat or whatever, now people can come in and see the couch and then they'll order a coffee table or a dining room set or whatever. Some people don't necessarily care about touching it, but they will see the main thing they're going to buy and then they'll add on to it. And then all of a sudden your average order value goes up because you have all this extra stuff that you can.
Reflecting on what you just mentioned with the number of listings that you have up and turning it into a catalog, it seems to me that maybe this is an area where you pulled the plug a little too soon. And it could be beneficial to, take all the used couches that you have, take all of the new inventory that you have and do individual listings for those. Because a lot of the sellers that I know that have transitioned into new, you'd be surprised. I was just talking to these guys, they're doing about $75K a month, doing almost entirely new couches. And they have 15 products that they're selling that are in their showroom. And they're constantly listing those individual products on Facebook Marketplace. They'll list the same product 3-4 times a week. And they'll try to do it with different backgrounds. If they sell a couch to a customer, they ask that customer, hey, can you give us a picture of that couch in your new space? They also offer in-home delivery. And so at times they'll get a testimonial on the spot. They'll take a picture on the spot, and having, the same furniture in a variety of different backgrounds and environments is helping them get more foot traffic into their business.
I think it's a great idea, and that's definitely on my list of to-dos. I'm trying to clean up some of the listings that we have on our website now, just from the vendor we use to bring in all of the 5,000 items. Some things are a little bit odd, but I'm trying to right now I'm focusing on the stuff that we have in our showroom. And to your point, yeah, there's 4 or 5 things that are the ones that people want the most. And we put those up front. They tend to be modular. They're the ones that are the most comfortable, the ones that can be built into different shapes and sizes. One thing that's tricky as far as listing stuff on Facebook Marketplace, especially with a lot of these configurable, customizable sets, that you can basically have a 2-piece or a 100-piece. How many permeations are there to create, with all the different varying pieces, left-facing chaise, right-facing chaise, cuddle corners, armless pieces. You can create so many different things. And so it starts to blow your mind with okay, I can create so many different marketplace listings for all these different things because people don't have the ability to visualize. I see that one, it's left-facing, it's 3 pieces, and they can't even imagine that you can flip it the other way or have something else. Because in the marketplace mentality is that's a used item and it's a one of one and that's the only thing available. So I'm not even thinking that there's some other things behind it. And people don't read. They've told me. Most people are I don't read the description. But no, I hear you. But I still think that there are people that do read. There are people that will see those listings. And I think there is an opportunity to get more exposure, especially free exposure, which helps lower our cost of advertising and our return on investment ad spend.
Yeah, and the modularity is something that a lot of sellers of new couches are really leaning into, in that every customer that walks into your store has different needs, but the fact that the couch is modular means that you can kind of listen to what those needs are and help configure a solution and sell them on the vision of that solution, right? How much square footage do you have? Do you have children? Do you need storage? Are you going to have people over? Do you need this pull out into a bed? How is this going to fit your space? And you can kind of take in those requirements and walk them through what the possibilities are going to be, and that can oftentimes help close the sale.
That's one of the nice things about the modular couches, because you can have 1 or 2 things in your showroom and you can have 100 different possible scenarios that you can sell to, right? And that's a nice thing too about having brand new furniture with all of the different variations, a large catalog. When you're selling used stuff, you only have what you have. And so I think you had mentioned earlier, being able to offer people a subtly different scenario. They come in thinking that they want the couch they contacted you for Facebook Marketplace, and then they realize, oh, that's not quite comfortable, or it's not going to fit my space just right. Instead of them saying, okay, thanks, bye, now they say, well, oh, how about that one? Or how about that one? Or how about that one? So then we end up saving sales because of the available inventory that we have. And that's been a huge benefit of moving to a new furniture model.
Yeah, we still do have people coming in asking for pre-owned
Oh, yeah.
couches.
There's certain people that are still like absolutely stuck on the brand. Like our branding, our website talks about selling restoration hardware, Pottery Barn, and things like that. And so people come to us saying, what do you have for our house or Pottery Barn? I don't have any right now. Okay, thanks, bye. Like they only want the brand. There's certain people that are like that, which is fine. Very brand aware people. And then there's people that have no idea what the difference between a Wayfarer blue couch is and a Pottery Barn blue couch. They just see it as a blue couch.
Right. Well, it sounds like you guys are in an interesting point in your business, but given how you've adapted to the different challenges along the way thus far in your journey, I have no doubt that you're going to figure out the model that works for you, especially as you scale into this new territory. So we're about at our hour. I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your story, and hopefully we'll get an update with good news from y'all a little bit down the line.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charles, for having us. It was a pleasant conversation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.